Okay, so the recording has just started, and I'm so excited to be talking with Kira Speer today, who is the head of growth at Comun and also was very impactful at Nubank, which is one of the biggest fintech success stories in the world. So, feeling very lucky to have her today to talk about how she was able to increase growth, customer acquisition at these amazing fintech companies. So, welcome, Kira.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great. So, just to kick it off, I'd love to understand from you as to what inspired you to pursue a career in fintech and what drew you to Nubank.
Yeah, so when I was just starting out my career after college, I worked in financial consulting for 2 years. I studied finance in college, and I worked for this boutique financial consulting firm in Mexico City. In those 2 years, I realized I didn't love finance, but I love analytics. And so through that job, I was connected to this startup ecosystem in Mexico, and I heard Nubank was coming, that they were expanding to Mexico, moving out of Brazil, or moving beyond just Brazil. And I was really interested in working there. And I saw they had a role open called business analyst. And I thought this is an amazing way to stay in analytics, which I love, but kind of get away from finance. And so I would say I kind of stumbled into fintech. I got really lucky with Nubank. And through my experience building financial models at my first job, I was put in growth because I could build out Nubank, Mexico's first growth model.
It's such an important skill in growth and in marketing in general. I wish I had it when I worked in marketing. It's like such an edge. So great that you're able to apply the financial analytics to growth marketing. And you started at Nubank Mexico when it was pretty new. So can you kind of just talk through what it was like at the beginning versus what it was like when you left?
Yeah, so I was one of the first employees at Nubank Mexico. We had 0 customers. And in my 3 years working in growth, we went from 0 to 3 million customers.
Whoa, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
it was amazing. It was rocket ship growth. The team was growing super fast, working with super talented people, very diverse team. And then in my little less than a year at Nubank, I worked in the checking account, which was the second product, and just supporting the launch for that. So I think by the time I actually left Nubank, which was about 4 years, I left when we had about 4 million customers.
Wow, it's absolutely incredible growth. Considering that, that you did that, can you share a glimpse of some of the strategies that made Nubank so successful?
Yeah, and something too I would say that's really interesting about Nubank's story as a whole is just how different Nubank Mexico is from Nubank Brazil. Nubank Brazil had that like once in a generation growth story where virality was like above 2, the viral coefficient was above 2, and they didn't have to spend in paid marketing for years. That wasn't our experience in Mexico. We definitely had to grind more for growth, but I think in terms of like growth education, it was a better school because we had to learn. We had to fire across multiple touch points. So when we first started in Mexico, we had a really nice split between the main channels, which was paid marketing, organic, and referrals, which we internally refer to as MGM, member get member. 33, 33, 33, really beautiful split. Over time, MGM decayed. Month over month, we just kept seeing it decline and decline, which is to be expected because, at a certain point, people just don't have anyone else to refer. All the people that are more likely to refer typically are early adopters. And those people got saturated. And towards the end, we were really more reliant on organic and paid. So paid became a really, really strong engine for us, which I think is not an unheard of story in B2C marketing.
Yeah.
But we also had a really strong organic engine, which I think was driven by word of mouth and by a lot of brand awareness. So our brand team at Nubank in general, but at Nubank Mexico specifically, was really world-class. And we just ran great nationwide brand campaigns, which just helped, fuel that organic engine.
Excellent. And considering you had this incredible experience at Nubank and now you've started at Comun, I'd love to delve into some of the things that you've brought over to Comun, and maybe give everyone a quick snapshot of Comun as a starter, because you guys are newer than Nubank. So if you want to just give that a quick plug.
Yeah, so Comun, we are a digital bank for Hispanic immigrants in the United States. We offer a checking account with a Visa debit card and remittances service, so people can send money back home, which is a critical feature for the immigrant population in the United States. So it's similar to Nubank in that it's a consumer fintech. It's targeting Spanish speakers, but it is a different target segment. Ours are more recently arrived immigrants in Mexico. It was just a different persona we were targeting. And I would say another key difference is that we were selling a checking account at Comun, whereas Nubank Mexico in the early days was credit. And for anyone in fintech who has worked with both of those products, you know that credit, it's just much easier to sell people money than to sell people a product where they have to give you their money. So
Totally.
yeah, that's been a learning as well.
And considering that difference, what have you been able to implement at Comun that you learned from Nubank? Like any strategies around acquisition, retention, engagement?
Yeah, so I think from what I've really brought to the role at Comun from my time at Nubank Mexico, definitely analytical rigor. Nubank is very data driven, very analytical, and I was a business analyst, so that was the role that was responsible for making and proposing data driven recommendations or decisions. So I've definitely brought that here. I think as well something that Nubank does great, best in class, is just creating this sense of community and brand love, and just really buying into that, even as an analytical data-driven growth person, understanding that there's just something you could build a competitive moat around fanatical customer love. So really leaning into that here. But I have learned a lot at Comun that I did not get to get my hands dirty with at Nubank Mexico because the team was so big. And so I would say that Comun has been an amazing growth school as well.
And it's so great that you've been able to work for these fintechs that are able to create this brand love because they are doing something for the greater good. Like, you're really solving a problem that these people have. And so I love that you're able to experience it. That's great. In terms of Comun being this, learning opportunity for you, can you talk through like anything that you've learned, like in maybe SEO, PR?
Yeah, so I think with Comun being so early stage, so I joined Comun as I think I was the 6th employee, seed stage, the only growth person, the only marketing person, the only comms person. I actually got to manage every touch point, from the copy for the ads themselves, sourcing the actors, of course, like managing analytics for like for paid marketing, which I'm very familiar with, like running tests in MGM, which I'm familiar with from Nubank. But then also I'm sending emails. I'm run product marketing here, and so understanding just how all those different touch points speak to each other. And I think the thing that I've really learned at Comun is how to story tell across all those touch points, and how paid marketing can speak to organic, can speak to lower funnel, and just make it a really cohesive experience. Just seeing better conversion rates and then better ROI revenue because of it.
Yeah. I was the first sales hire at Ramp and had a similar experience where like every email was communicated, like signed off by me, because there was no one else talking to customers at that point in time. And it's definitely like a hard slog, but so amazing in terms of being able to see the whole journey. So I totally understand that. And I'm so happy that you got to experience that too. It's really valuable. Switching gears a little bit to trends in the industry, as a growth expert, can you talk about maybe some new technologies or some new trends that you're seeing starting to be adopted?
So something that's top of mind for me and something I'm really excited about is predictive LTV modeling. So when I was at Nubank, we had NPV, net present value, which was just LTV, our ability to measure long-term value for a customer. And we used that to make a framework for thinking about marketing spend. So we made it a marginal return on advertising spend model. And that was our framework for thinking about spend and how much more we can invest in each channel before they saturate, which we define saturation as marginal ROAS equals 1. Obviously, that was really aggressive. And we were in a place where we really wanted to grow. So we were just super aggressive with that target. Now at Comun, I feel like we're on level 2, which is, okay, now how can we make machine learning models or predictive AI models that can predict LTV higher up in the funnel, like at an like applied level. So someone completes our application flow, and just off the information that we have, that we can get from them, from the ads they clicked on and that resonated with them, and then also the information they enter in the application flow, predicting their lifetime value, and then sending back those events to our marketing platforms to be able to bid on these high value customers. That's what I'm really excited about, and something we're investing in heavily in 2025.
I'm really excited about that too. When I was a fintech VC, one of the reasons that I chose to work for a B2B specific fintech was that there was this problem with the direct to consumer fintechs having to spend so much on paid ads in order to acquire users. And a lot of the time, those users weren't quality. And so it's great to see that now there's so much more intelligence that can be applied so that ROAS, return on ad spend, is so much more efficient and effective. Like, you're targeting the customers that are going to stay with you long term and add a lot of value to the company. So it's great to see that like this new technology is like really changing direct consumer fintech for the better.
Yeah, I agree. It's exciting. It's like the next frontier.
Yeah, exactly. And so continuing with this theme, so with acquisition strategies evolving, how do you diversify channels and keep efficiency? Which new channels and methods have you seen a lot of potential for growth?
So I think something that's really top of mind for me is actually separating out the first question of like, how do we stay efficient and how do we diversify? We're such a lean team. And if anybody listening is also on a lean team, and it sounds like you were super early too, so you have to really decide where you want to focus. So top of mind for me would be, how do we keep paid marketing efficient? And the first answer is a definitive like predictive LTV modeling, value-based bidding. The second is, how can we diversify away from paid marketing, which is just the name of the game. We would love to figure that out. We have, of course, like any good growth program, tried a bunch of different things. Some things have stuck, some things haven't, most things haven't. But something I would love to be able to figure out is offline activations. That's something we haven't been able to really test, because honestly, it's a huge lift to stand up, and you need a pretty big team to be able to reach scale with that. But it is something that specifically for our target audience, they really appreciate that human connection. They're immigrants, they're very community-based. They have a lot of distrust of banks. So to be able to acquire them in person feels really exciting. And I think in terms of the most potential for growth besides that I would say partnerships. Just trying to find ways to partner with probably employers, most likely, where they work, and to help them get bank accounts easier. One of the big buts we have when customers think about hiring a Comun, so you think I would, but their big but is, but is it safe? But it's not a Wells Fargo. It's not a traditional bank. There's no physical branches. So really, it's that trust aspect. It's that the fear we have to calm. And so what we're excited about with in person or with partnerships is that you're face to face with someone, which inspires, instills trust, right? And then the other with partnerships, if you can make a partnership with their employer, then they're more likely to trust you.
Totally. Just breaking that down, I'm a big believer in in-person activations. For Fintech Women, we've done over 100 events in New York, San Francisco, Seattle, and Chicago. So if you ever wanted to do a Comun event with Fintech Women, we'd be more than happy to do that.
I would love to.
And then Great. Us too. And then secondly, totally agree with the partnerships approach. Love the B to B to C angle of going through employers, and totally hear you on the pushback of, well, it's not Wells Fargo, Bank of America, or Chase. But that said, it is much more suited to your target audience. So hopefully the employers are starting to realize that, and you can use them as a channel.
Yeah.
Cool. So something that keeps coming up whenever I'm talking to growth experts at fintech companies is value-based bidding. Seems to be like very much on trend. And so can you talk about a few of the challenges and surprises that came along when you adopted value-based bidding, and like unexpected benefits that emerged?
Yeah, so to caveat this, I would say to anyone listening that we're in the process of really embracing value-based bidding, but we're committed, and like I mentioned, it's one of our top priorities for 2025. So far, I think the first thing that we needed was an LTV model, right? Like we needed to be able to not only see like the value of a customer, the unit economics, but predict that out 5 years. And so we hired a head of decision sciences from Nubank who joined, and he built that model for us. So that was step one. And then we needed to work with the data scientists to start making a model to predict this number, and we call it NPV, net present value, but I mean, LTV is basically the same thing, to predict NPV at an account level. So we're still in the process of that, of seeing what information we can glean and like make the best model. From there, what we'll do is we can send that information back to the marketing platforms. So we're still very much in progress, but I would say step one is absolutely a robust LTV model.
Yes, yeah. And that's definitely what I'm hearing. Like it is the next wave. And so it seems like a lot of the fintechs are like where you're at and moving to the next step after that. So we like to keep these things short and sweet. So I'll start to wrap it up, but just as a final question, what are the key takeaways that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah, so when I was thinking, when I think about my time in growth, which I love fintech, I love B2C growth, and maybe someday B2B2C growth. But what I love about my growth journey is just that my experience at Nubank, like working at this behemoth of a company, world-class, record-breaking fintech, getting to work with super senior people, huge team, massive growth, I feel is just as valuable as my 1.5 years has been at Comun, where it's small team, super smart team, everybody's hands on deck, getting your hands dirty. Like I think it sounds like you're very familiar with from Ramp. I feel that this experience has been immensely valuable and an amazing growth school. So I would say my takeaway is like, it feels almost like my career in growth has been a lot like managing a growth team, which is like throwing things at the wall, see what sticks. And then ultimately like this like idea of optimizing and like constantly testing and pushing it is what leads to growth. So that's my takeaway.
I think that's great. Don't be afraid to try things, test and learn rapidly, fail often, fail fast.
Yeah, and get your hands dirty.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the fun part. Great. Well, Kira, we're so happy that we got to have you today, and really looking forward to watching what you do at Comun and beyond that.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to speak with you, and I hope we can see each other soon.
Yes, me too. Okay. Thanks, Kira.
Bye.
Speak soon. Bye.